Okay, so this is the August 7th, 2025 meeting of the Littleton Sustainability Committee. And we'll start out with a member roll call, if you would, Margaret.
Sarah Rombacher, Chair. Charlotte Delenz, Co-Chair. Margaret Gibbs. John Hagberg, Don McIver, Emily Squires. And guests, Michelle Zelenka and Rob Rounds.
Oh, actually, I also see Karen just popped in, so I'm going to...
And Karen Morrison.
Promote her to panelist as well.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Karen. All right, and so next up would be minutes to approve. Those were sent out. Did anyone have any comments?
They look good to me.
I have a comment. Let's see, on the section where we talk about the styrofoam recycling. Let's see, there's some sections that I don't remember being in the conversation. Let's see. I'm okay with Emily semicolon would like the SC support in setting up a styrofoam recycling day as the town of Harvard has. She plans to reach out to Harvard and find out who they used and contact the company and make it into an annual activity. That's okay. In the next sentence, I don't agree with. She thinks that they would have people on site to make sure what type could be recycled and nothing else brought. We didn't really go over that, and it's more, also the next paragraph. Let's see. I don't think we talked about that, so I would take that out. We really talked about. I asked for if it was okay to talk with Harvard as a sustainability committee, and I was given the approval to do that. And there was chat about what the cost would be, and we agreed that we would just leave that until I talked with Harvard. Is it possible to remove that, Margaret, the second paragraph?
Yeah, I know that people must have talked about it. Probably wasn't you. It was probably somebody else who mentioned these things, but I can, if the rest of the committee agrees, I can strike it. I can strike that last sentence, and then I can also strike the entire next paragraph.
I mean, if people don't want it stricken, because it is interesting information and thoughts, it should be added as these things were discussed or something to that effect. I don't remember it wasn't in my notes, and so on. I don't. So, strike or modify? What do people think?
Does anybody remember saying it? Was it you, Sarah?
I don't remember. I'm fine with striking that, and we can just say that it was. I think maybe saying that we just discussed that we'd need to coordinate with the transfer station. I know we did talk about that.
That's still in there. The other discussion. That's the paragraph after Emily has our support. So is that all right, Emily?
Yeah. I know it was mentioned that Western Massachusetts had at least one recycling. I think you mentioned that. I mean, I agree that might be have been discussed, but it wasn't. I didn't discuss it. Okay, and it sort of looks like I discussed it. Okay, we just didn't have the knowledge at that point. So.
Okay, I just want to note that I did not say Emily says in front of that paragraph, but I am fine with striking it.
Definitely the last sentence should be struck. She thinks that they would have people on site making.
Yep, I did strike that too.
Be, okay.
Did you want to see my screen so you see what I did?
Nope. If you just take the last sentence off the first paragraph and it.
Okay.
You could leave the other one if you want. Okay, because you're right. You did not say, whereas you did on the earlier one. So you can say, keep that. The last sentence on that is more something that we would have to figure out. That way, someone would have to potentially to run the collection. I'm not sure if the way I left it, what at least in my mind was, let's get more information. Okay, because there was a lot of speculation back and forth, and it's like time out. Let's find out what Harvard did and see what we can do from there. Okay.
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 So I struck the one sentence, and the other one I could just say something about. I could move that down so that it doesn't look like it's yours, and just say under other discussion.
Yeah. Okay, that was the only comment I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Margaret, do you want to share your screen to just be clear so everyone can see it? Or
Sure. Trying to do that. I always have trouble with these. Okay. So I'm just showing it here. This section here. I'm striking out that one line. And I moved the paragraph so that the Emily's are all together. And then I've said under further discussion about foam boxes. And then I continued with this.
Yeah. Another slight possible modification. She plans to reach out to Harvard and find out who they use and contact that company. And making it into annual activity is something that we'd have to decide after. So I would take yeah. Okay. These are things that we talked about, but that were discussed, but without knowing what the system is, it doesn't make sense to put it down into minutes, I think.
Okay.
okay, so with those changes, is there a motion to approve or any other comments?
I'll make a motion to approve them with those changes.
Okay, and a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended? Margaret?
Yes.
John?
Abstain, wasn't there, but they look great.
Okay. Emily?
Yes.
Charlotte?
Yes.
And Don?
Yes.
Okay. Then the minutes are approved. We have next public input. And Rob has raised his hand, so I'm going to let him talk. You should be able to unmute, Rob, I think.
Yep, just did. You can hear me?
Yep.
Yep, good. Thanks. Real quick. Two things. One, want to recognize this group. As some of you were there a year or so ago, I attended several meetings. From that, I came from Connecticut, having had solar panels on our house there, came here, was looking for a little assistant, got encouragement through some of you folks during this committee's meetings, as well as the Third Thursday event, and happy to say that it's up and running. So kudos to you folks for keeping that sort of thought process and, forward thinking going. With regard to the forward thinking, I want to encourage you folks, if you haven't weighed in or gotten up to speed on Shaker Lane proposal that's going to come up for a town vote October 28th, I encourage you to do it. I know Karen's on. I know Charlotte sat next to me when the select board and FinCom and school committee went forward with the proposal about geothermal. I think it's a very wise decision. I think there's other elements. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday with regard to not even, all the rooms won't even necessarily have to have air conditioning in them because of a 21st century building has tinted windows, et cetera. So there's numerous aspects that I don't present myself as being an expert, but should you folks want to know of such things, there's an upcoming tour on August 14th, a Q&A session following the tour. And certainly I'd encourage you, I look to you folks with regard to actions on behalf of the town with regard to sustainability. I think removing 1962 type systems with an old building and replacing with 21st century construction is the way to go. I'd even go so far as to say, if you're open to it, consider putting an item on your agenda for your September meeting in order to take consideration of action of approving and supporting the proposal or aspects pertaining to the, the very good, somewhat climate action oriented, how to build buildings today as opposed to yesterday. So I just wanted to throw that out. With that, I'm done. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Rob. Congratulations on your solar panels. Charlotte, did you want to add something?
Yeah, maybe just to recap, and thanks, Rob, for the comments. We have been involved in various discussions about the school building and have had it on our agenda a few times. And actually, great that you mention it, because we've also been in touch with the project in terms of how and whether the sustainability committee could endorse those aspects around the sustainable design, etc. So even have some proposed language for that this evening. So no, it's a great point, and yeah, thanks for raising it for us.
All right. If there's nothing else, we can move on to talking about the Climate Action Plan public forum.
Yeah, thank you. So Dawn, I got your comments, and I made a few changes, like just addition wise. I know you mentioned kind of talking about the OSRP, sort of stuff like that. So there are a couple updates that are new from what I sent last week, and I'm just gonna. I guess the best way maybe of doing this is kind of just going through maybe the PowerPoint first and see if anyone has any comments. We can do it that way.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry, I have a lot of different things open, so I'm trying to navigate the Zoom, and then okay, this should work now. Oh, bounce down to here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we've got the intro. Plan to go through the agenda, just giving them kind of a overview of what we're going to be talking about. We want to give people a chance to also introduce themselves as well, if they're in any organizations, and kind of get a feel of what they're kind of expecting for the meeting.
I see Emily's hand up. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah. Okay. So when I looked at this, the first thing I thought was, people, you're trying to get people from the town, right? You're trying to get residents. When I looked at this, the first thing I thought was your name, role, organization, municipality, and committee representing. I think you're trying to make people feel like they came to the wrong meeting. Okay.
Okay.
So that's really important. The other thing is that if you get more than like 8 to 10 people, you're going to spend an awful lot of your time talking about something that no one really cares about. I'm not there to hear what people's names are and maybe their expectations, but if you haven't tell about their expectations, they're probably coming to hear what's going on. So I think you're going to waste a lot of time, lose a lot of people's interests. This is really a meeting. What you can do is introduce yourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to have everyone go through. That would take 10, 15 minutes, and you're going to have people zoning out and considering that's a waste of their time.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we can looking at the like registration too. It looks like there's a total of 14 people registered. I know some of that a few of them were you guys as well. So yeah, it's probably going to be maybe like around 10 unless there's like of course people who come in that didn't register. That could also kind of cut down on the time. But definitely we'll be like introducing ourselves and like myself and NIMCOG. So I'm just gonna start making comments in the PowerPoint. I'll do remove slide. Okay. And oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think
I
Charlotte,
was just
did
gonna
you-
say, yeah.
Just a related comment. I was wondering, Michelle, if we have a way of retaining that information from the registration, just so that we know who to reach out to later. And if we do have
Yeah.
any pins, we should be so lucky.
Yeah.
Like a sign-up sheet or something.
Definitely for any event, we're going to want a sign-up sheet. It can just be simple name, email, or and then do you want to be contacted for additional information or other events? Yeah, we definitely want that. And yeah, that would kind of cover like the introduction and getting that information. So yeah. So we also, of course, want to talk about NIMCOG, and I know Don had a few notes related to kind of talking about why NIMCOG is working on this, and because you guys are a part of the MAPC. So that explanation, I'm going to kind of explain the regional planning agencies and like where NIMCOG, like that region, and kind of use that to talk about, December was when the contract for the EECBG grant was signed, and that's how kind of NIMCOG came on. But even though Littleton is still part of the MAPC, want to kind of explain that in this slide.
Charlotte?
Yes.
One of the things you had mentioned about the sign-up sheet,
Mhm.
and then why I sent out for the journal notes, I mentioned we should have a way that people can keep current as to what we're doing, and
Yeah.
having sort of a notification, a push notification system, much as we do for other meetings for some of the regulatory boards.
Mhm.
And that would be fairly simple, but it'd be nice to have that so people are engaged.
Mhm.
Even if they don't show up again, they at least understand what we're doing and it's transparent.
Yeah. We definitely want to keep track of whoever shows up and get at least their emails. I think emails is probably enough. We don't need phone numbers or anything.
Right, but if we did a push notification that, when we do something, we send it out to all the people that decide they want to subscribe to getting information.
And I think, Sarah, did you mention that the Energized Littleton site has sort of like a email? Is that correct? Like a way of like emailing people, or
If they sign up for the site, we can push things out, but
Yeah.
they would need to sign up for the site, which I know is kind of a blocker for people.
Mhm.
Well, but if we
But-
provide information, I was thinking of more than just Energize. People may want to know everything that's happening, but in particular for the CAP project, which is really sort of a major local thing, at some point, people are probably going to have to approve it at a town meeting or a select board meeting.
Mhm.
Have something just for the focus for the CAP project.
Mhm.
And in the simplest way, I mean, even like the Acton Conservation Trust has a Google group or something where people can sign up and just stuff gets sent out periodically.
Mhm.
So people express interest, they're least engaged, and we communicate with them. It builds up support.
Yeah, we can potentially at least just gather emails. If people are interested in leaving their email for us, we can then email from the sustainability email. I think we would need to just make it clear that we may be emailing with more information on the sign up sheet.
And do it periodically, not overload people, but
Yeah.
maybe monthly, just so people express interest, feel they're being listened to, and they know what's going on. I mean, certainly that would have been an advantage on some other projects like the Nagog Hill Orchard and stuff, where, people would show up and then they have to go and hunt stuff down and often not get listened to. So, I mean, it's an engagement process that keeps people up to speed. So when it has to be approved, people feel like they've been part of it.
Charlotte, you've had your hand up. Did you have something?
Yeah, just because I'm a bit obsessive and nerdy about slides. So Michelle, you can take on this one. But I'm wondering if we're going to share these slides also as a resource afterwards.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if we may, and even just during this presentation, we may want to put the key takeaway as the title, just to make sure that we're really homing in on the key messages we want people to leave with. So, climate action plan timeline, it is descriptive of what this is, but I wonder if just saying sort of targeting spring, 2026 town meeting for action plan finalization,
Yeah.
with lots of opportunities for input, or something that if you were to read through these after the fact, or even if someone's there's a lot of text on the slides I notice as we're going through, which is obviously fantastic as in terms of providing the level of detail, but I do wonder if people get a little lost, right, with a lot of text, especially seeing as if we're going to be going through the presentation a little bit quickly, and even the previous slide about NIMCOG. To me, the key takeaway is not that NIMCOG exists, but Littleton is doing this, building on the expertise of and experience of other communities as well. It's not something we just made up, right? And I think that's, instead of, it's a little bit just about framing the key messages for the audience, maybe anticipating some of the questions that they might have as well. But again, take it or leave it. That's just my slide smithing nerdiness coming out.
Yeah. No, I always appreciate a good slide kind of like suggestion. So, yeah, I can definitely like go through and maybe look at some of like the titles and maybe make them kind of pop out a little more or have like the clearer message. I guess, yeah, as far as the timeline, I adjusted that a little bit just to include kind of the fall town meetings, and then I added in spring town meeting as well. I just want to make sure that that is accurate. I know you sent out the email about the climate declaration being in October.
If we are going to do the emergency declaration, then we would need to do it at fall town meeting, I
Okay.
think. And the deadline for that, I believe, is September 12th to have the language final so that it can be put into the warrant. And Karen, I was on my list as if we decided for sure to do that tonight, I was going to be emailing you to let you know that.
Great.
Margaret, you've got your hand up. Did you have?
Yes, I was just going to sort of pull on what Charlotte said about key takeaways. And unlike what she was saying, to put it at the top, which I mean, that could be a good idea too. But I know that my company usually has like a slide on something, and then they'll have a key takeaway at the bottom of the slide in a little box. And it will say key takeaway and then what it is. So it makes it really obvious what they want to have you leave that slide with. That's all.
Thank you.
I was just gonna, before we go too far from it, on the about NIMCOG, I would not spend too much time on that. Again, like that's not the main thrust of the meeting, and we don't want to lose people.
Yeah.
For context I think is fine, but
Yeah, I think for that, it was just going to be kind of like, here's what a regional planning agency is. Here's what NIMCOG is. We have this region, and then go into this timeline, talk about
Great.
the grant kind of as like a springboard and go from there.
that's great.
Any additional thoughts, questions for the slide or?
Well, just it was things were a little bit in key takeaway mode. What do we want people most to walk away from this? Because I do think that will help prioritize which slides you have time for, perhaps. Because I also noted it's a very long presentation, and one of my questions was going to be, how long do we expect to actually have the presentation part of the session? 30 slides is a lot to get through. So if one of the key messages is that we are partnering, we have a grant, this ball is rolling, we have resources, then we can certainly emphasize those pieces. If it's actually less about that and more about what do you care about in terms of climate and Littleton's resiliency and more of that listening side of things, I would kind of sacrifice a little bit more of the machinery in favor of the latter part of the presentation, which is more Littleton focused, and then obviously the more listening and the walk. We could otherwise, like Sarah's alluding to, I think you could lose people quickly if we're not kind of getting to why didn't we just like send out this information? We're having people here to really engage. So again, I think it depends a little bit on what we want to say and why we want to invite people to spend their evening with us. So I probably would be in favor of moving more quickly into the why a climate action plan and less about the machinery of like how we got here and how we're funded to do it.
And if people have questions about it, you can certainly speak to it then. If you feel like it's sparse, someone will raise a question and then you could fill it in. But, reserve that for someone asking if they don't quite understand how we got where we got.
Like backup slides.
Yeah.
And honestly, the timeline could go like at the end, like after people do the gallery thing as a wrap up, just to say, here's the timeline and the next step is this.
I was just thinking that because there actually is, again, like a reminder at the end, kind of like a roadmap for what's coming next. So yeah, I mean, I guess we could maybe move that, like the timeline at the beginning and kind of move that down to the bottom instead and just be like, here's where, here's more the next opportunities for engagement or participation. Here's kind of what's happening next.
Given that you've got this, actually, I'm not even sure you need the earlier one.
Yeah.
For this meeting.
Remove that. Okay.
This one's prettier as well.
Yeah, I do really like that. We have sort of like pre-created slide decks. So some of these are like the about NIMCOG is just sort of like our general, like here's just an overview of like the agency. And yeah, that roadmap is one of them. So I prefer keeping that one. But I'll make a note of it before I actually
That's great.
just ooh, remove slide. Okay. Okay. And then outline of the meeting goals. And then we go into what is a climate action plan. Oh, sorry, John. I think.
Yeah, just
Oh.
quickly, I think we did the what and the when. I wonder, do we need to lead with the why again? Why it's important that we're having this discussion for the attendees to remind them of why it's important for Littleton that we believe that a community should have a climate action plan in place, and just lead really strongly with the why, because then the rest gets into the what and the parts. And maybe we get to the end, but just as I've heard people's comments, it almost assumes that everyone knows why we're already having this discussion,
Mhm.
and then we're jumping into the meat behind that. And I think we may need to just restate the why for everyone else in the room.
So for this, I kind of was thinking just people who might not know anything about like what a climate action plan is. So that's kind of why I included some of these slides. But if you think maybe it might be better just to kind of dive a little bit more into here's what we're doing, here's why we need to do it, instead of kind of explaining like what the basics, I guess.
I think for me, it's like everyone can get behind that we want to reduce emissions and we want to have a goal to do that. The plan is really putting action behind that desire. It does some real tangible things as far as opening up opportunities with grants and other options for the community. It gives us something to hold ourselves accountable to. Like,
Mhm.
if there's that's what I mean by the why.
Yeah.
When you have it, it allows you to get to what these slides kind of speak to, and that's how I read them, at least. So as long as the voiceover talks about that, again, might just be in the header of the slide or in the takeaway, however we decide to do that.
Sorry, Charlotte.
Yeah, just building on that, I like the idea of starting off with, well, if we're telling a story here and we're trying to capture people, you know, why does this matter? And you have a later slide, climate change affects all of us. Depending on how bold we want to go here, but I feel like that's kind of ripe for maybe sharing just some images of newspaper clippings recently, right? It's a pretty jarring outcome if communities are not resilient in the face of climate change. And I think, given that this is a community forum, and you know, I think we kind of want to speak to that, right? This is the outcome if communities don't think about resilience and sort of climate action. So that's why we're all here, because it has very real, tangible, tragic consequences for us as a community. You know, don't have to go full scare tactic, but I think that's a good reminder. And then I like that segueing into then what you said, John. So, okay, so we can all talk about it and go, oh gosh, yeah, that's awful. But what do we do about it? Oh, we have to have some kind of plan. We have to actually have tangible actions that we can take as a community that changes that trajectory. Otherwise, we're just sitting kind of worry-warting. We're not really doing anything about it. Enter climate action plan. Okay, well, what even is a climate action plan? Okay, this is what it is. And so it sort of takes them down that path a little bit of saying, you know, why we are here actually discussing this. And then I like couching that in what you have here, which is, you know, this isn't brand new to Littleton, right? We've already stated certain goals. We already have plans. We already have a kind of enabling environment to support this sort of effort. But this climate action push is saying, again, let's leverage that enabling environment and put our sort of money where our mouth is, to so to speak, and actually make some more concrete changes. And then, hey, we want to hear from you what those changes should be, or what those, like, you know, positive steps in the right direction should be. Thinking about that audience, it's people who live here, who care about Littleton, who read the news and sort of see, you know, awful, tragic situations happening around the country. And I think that, you know, that's maybe what we want to kind of get people involved. This is going to make a real difference. It's not just sort of a piece of paper that's going to be stuck somewhere.
Emily, you've had your hand up for a minute.
Yes. Let's see. I'm going to go back to more mechanics. Under tonight's agenda, you have welcome and induction, meeting goals. Then it says visioning exercise, and then it says what is a climate action plan. So what is the visioning exercise?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is that exercise. So if you look at a few other climate action plans, some of them will incorporate just kind of getting an idea of what residents want their town to look like in the future. And so this is what that exercise is.
So on slide 8, is that when people disperse? And
no, this would be
Okay.
kind of like almost like a writing exercise, where they would kind of write what they imagine and what they had done to get to 2050.
we collect these on Post-its or something?
Yeah, they would be like
Okay.
like postcards. Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if I understand. The slide that you're putting up right now is the visioning exercise where we say what are you going to ask them to do?
So it's sort of like a imagine your community in the future. That's sort of what the first exercise is. It's not the gallery walk, which is kind of the more, I would say, more important exercise, that where we get like the feedback.
So would we time box, like maybe on this slide, it time boxed. It says, you know, like take 5 minutes to.
It would, yeah, just 5 minutes, like, yeah, just a quick exercise to get people thinking.
Okay, you're going to be confused because it says because of the action we took today. Okay, so I assume you're talking about during the meeting because this is what we're doing. We haven't done it yet. So how do you know what action we did today? So
This is imaginary, though, right? This is
Yeah, it's like imagining.
Yeah, but you shouldn't say actions we took today because you're confused. Or are you talking about today, literally today during this forum? Okay, because you're now going to come in and say, let's do these actions. But we haven't yet gone through what those actions are. So it doesn't make sense. Also in your agenda, in your slide, you have slide 7 before 8, and slide 7 says, what is a climate action plan, which is agenda item 4.
Mhm.
And your visioning exercise is slide 8.
Okay.
So someone who's looking at this is going to say, what are you doing? Because that's what I did.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can swap those. Yeah,
But
sorry.
I don't know if the visioning, I think the visioning exercise is going to confuse everyone. And they're going to say, this is, you know, I don't think you're going to get anything out of it. And what you're going to do is actually make some people upset because they're there to get actions, not to imagine they're there because they're already concerned, right? Now, if you want to, you can do the visioning exercise at the end of the presentation and said, okay, this is how we would do it, but they're going to be confused as to what action do you want us to do? What have we agreed to as a community? Well, we haven't agreed to anything yet. So it's way out of order.
Emily, I think I disagree with like moving it. That this sort of question is something that we were asking at the third Thursday, and it's just sort of to get people in the mindset, I think, of what do we want to aim for. And I think if we time box it to something short, and the cards are going to be on the table, and we'll hopefully people will understand that.
And I can
know.
tweak the sentence a little bit too, just to maybe be a little more kind of like thinking into the future, make that a little bit more clear as well.
Yeah, I might just add visions, actually in the title, if you want to go back to that slide, just say visioning exercise. What does Littleton look like in 2050?
Yes, that would clarify.
And just so that it is clear, and again, maybe because people might be looking at these slides afterwards, I really like it personally. I think it does get people into a sort of ambitious and imaginative mindset, and actually gets us out of the restrictions of what we're doing today. It's in actually today, and sort of saying, what do you want? What do you want to see? What does the world look like to you? And I kind of do like that approach. So I'd also be in favor of keeping it up front with the suggestions that Emily made with the just switching the slides so it's not the sequencing isn't confusing.
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to make a quick note of that.
I think this might be where John's why. I mean, it might be actually another slide where you show the disasters that are going on, and why is this important? I think is what you're trying to get out of this, right? But I'm not sure if it's clear.
Yeah, I'd hope my house isn't underwater in 2050. That would be nice. It's kind of, these are the things, I don't know if you guys have an apocalyptic mindset, but it is something I think about, No, I think it matters.
So I am going to break in and do a time check because, we still have time, but I just want to make sure that we are not getting hung up on minutia when we do need to really make it through and figure out all the mechanics of the forum and make sure that we have the content that we want without wordsmithing everything. And then because we also we need to talk about third Thursday if we're doing that, because that's coming up soon as well. And
I think what we're doing is very important because I think we're going to lose it if we don't. So I would like to also propose, as we look into that we might want to talk about what is a climate action plan before we go into visioning, because reading, we need to get everyone on the same page. That so actually moving the visioning behind what is an action climate plan or a climate action plan would make more sense. Because you have not brought everyone on board on exactly what it is. You're asking them to think about it, and then you're defining what it is later. The next slide.
Sarah, is there the option, open meeting rules wise, for one or two people to work on this outside of this meeting before the 12th, just to finalize sequencing and wording of the slides with Michelle? Would that be either welcome or possible?
I think one or two people could work with Michelle, but definitely not a quorum of us discussing it.
Right, it's sort of a task force, and is allowed in open meeting law. But once again, you should say not a quorum.
Right. If we can agree on the overall takeaways that we're all in agreement, and overall direction, then it's really sort of wordsmithing and tweaking. As Emily said, I also think that's important, but yeah, I may not want to belabor every minutia tonight.
Yeah, I think if we could get the big picture of what we want to make sure that is said and people have a chance to say. John, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, and I totally agree on the minutia of slides. What I wanted to add, it's an add-on, I think, where Charlotte was headed with the opening and the why. I think we may want to consider that coming from you, Charlotte, or someone from the committee, and then an introduction of Michelle and the team as the how, right? And I like the flow of that, right? Why are we here? Sustainability Committee has been talking about this. We're ready to take some action. We want you to come along. Here's what we care about, right? Here, Michelle's going to walk us through. Then I love the flow of Michelle introducing who they are and how they are part of MCOG, and then the visioning exercise. Emily, I can see totally what you're saying, but I feel like the visioning exercise is not about having them vision a climate action plan. It's about having them vision a future and putting them in the right mindset. That then we put them in the mindset of the plan is what we build against to try and get towards that vision that you had in your mind. And so the flow of it, when couched that way, makes sense to me, at least. And I understand others, but if we're clear that the visioning isn't about vision what a climate action plan is, it's envision what you want the world to look like in 50 years. And if we make that real clear, then how a climate action plan comes together and all of the other exercises and slides, I could take or leave any of the other nuances. That flow feels really good to me, and I feel confident that the community would resonate with the community. I love it. It's been building with the feedback from everyone from what Dodd sent in email. So that's my only take.
I'll second that motion.
And yeah, I can, again, I see what you mean with the like today. I can tweak that a little bit too. But I guess, so are there any other comments or questions?
I guess I had so in general, you mean?
I guess for this slide, but in general.
Oh, yeah, I guess I was just looking forward, and we went into there are some slides that are pretty specific about greenhouse gas emissions and so forth, and I wasn't expecting to see that level of detail here.
Oh, is that for talking about like the regional and then Littleton specific?
I guess so. Maybe if you could just give a little context for what the voice track would be with that part.
Yeah, so I wanted to just talk about a kind of a big component of the climate action plan is kind of the inventory of the greenhouse gas emissions. So I wanted to talk about the kind of regional climate action plan that the MAPC and other planning agencies are working on, and then just kind of give a little bit of context of like, here's the regional emissions, and then here's Littleton's source of emissions. And then when kind of explaining these are the sources, kind of go into here's what's been done to address, maybe not necessarily specifically originally focused to address greenhouse gas emissions, but here's some actions that Littleton has been making progress on that help address greenhouse gas emissions, which is kind of the next part here, talking about green communities, some of the programs, the light department, and then kind of get them thinking about what's been done already, and then here's what additional actions that we can take, and then that kind of goes into the gallery walk exercise.
Okay. And did you have a plan for how long the talking part would be before people are, up and interacting with those posters?
Yeah, so I definitely want to keep it, I guess considering with like the 5 minutes for the visioning section. So I was planning for the whole thing to be an hour and a half. So 30 minutes for like the gallery walk exercise. Um, so probably around like a half hour.
Okay. I see hands.
Yeah.
I think Emily was first, I think.
Oh, I think Emily, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So, so you're saying that you want a half hour on, or how much time do you want for the gallery walk? Because that's the major aspect that's coming in on it,
I would
right?
say like half hour, maybe 40 minutes, around then.
Okay. Okay. I'm a little confused. If you go back to the slide where you talk about the gallery walk,
Mhm.
if you could, please.
This one here.
Yeah. Okay. My takeaway when I looked at this was, it was the second thought. If you have additional ideas or suggestions, feel free to write them on the poster on other ideas. I think the main reason, at least from my perspective, is to get people's ideas, not to come in and have them rank the straw. I consider these straw man ideas to come out, but you're really looking for people's engagements. When you're looking at that and you tell them to put 2 dots on the measures you feel are the highest priority, that means of all of the, how many, you have like 4 or 5, or actually 4 areas. You want to have them put 1 dot on they get 2 dots or something
Mhm.
to put on. Okay, so I'm not quite sure if it implies to me the way you have it written that you want them to prioritize the list that you came up with, de-emphasize what they want, and their additional ones are not even going to get rated. Okay, so my proposal to you is that we come in and let people brainstorm. You have straw mans over here, but what else do you have? Have them go through that, and then come in and rank everything. Okay, because otherwise you're just yeah, I would walk away thinking that you don't really care about my ideas. You're ranking your own ideas. If people put dots by my, some of these new ideas, it's not equal because when people came through, they might not have seen that idea yet. Okay, so
Okay, so maybe we can just break it up and say, like, here's some post-its, put your ideas up, and then after a few minutes, okay, we'll, walk around again and add your dots or something.
Yes, definitely break it, at least break it up and have people brainstorm and spend a lot of time brainstorming because they will be interacting with the people around them. Okay, so you don't want time constraint. Prioritizing, I think getting the ideas out are more important than prioritizing. Okay.
Yeah, Emily, I think this is a qualitative exercise. So, I mean, I'm leaning on my UX experience here. There's not going to be any statistical, we're not going to say this was the top thing. Like, it's more to get a vibe on ideas and engage people and to see roughly what people feel is important, but there's not going to be any sort of statistical
I
validity here. So.
I understand that completely, but what my concern is that, first off, then, if you have 40 minutes to do this, a half an hour of people going around brainstorming and 10 minutes of them putting priorities, but of course they're reading people's other comments. I think the idea is a brainstorming, not, the dots might distract. Or what you could do is after the brainstorming, have a discussion, and then you can to the whole room and then prioritize, in that way. But okay, that's all I have to say.
And we do definitely want to have a opportunity for people to kind of, explain maybe what they thought, anything that was surprising, or any additional things that they wanted to add. So we'll definitely take some time to be able to do that and have like a kind of everyone comes back and has a discussion.
Charlotte?
Yeah, I guess we can also be very liberal with our dots.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So a lot of this exercise has been done by like the MAPC for the CPRG before. So no one's going to be limited with a dot.
So I was also expecting it's a really, I think, a great thing that a lot of us will also be there. We can be very active facilitators and also kind of take notes a little bit on what is bubbling up, perhaps, and that might be another way of kind of elevating some of the things that do come up again and again. My comment was actually just, and I'm happy to kind of take this offline as well, but I think when we talk about that flow from regional greenhouse gas emissions, why the greenhouse gas emissions are so important within a climate action plan and Littleton's, I feel like that honestly could be probably packaged in just like one slide. Okay. And as John was saying earlier, like if we get the flow right there, then I think it makes a lot of sense. This is a big part of what's driving climate change, maybe highlighting the fact that things that drive it in other regions isn't always exactly what's going to be the case in Littleton. So if we look at Littleton and we get Littleton specific, there are things that we can do as a community that are going to be pertinent to our situation that may not be someone else's situation. So I think there's a sort of a story to be told there, but one that can be compacted a little bit to also give a bit more time to the gallery walk as well.
The only thing we can control is in Littleton, and even there we can't control a lot of things, like all the traffic on 495. So the focus is really what we can do.
Yeah. And I like that story. It's like, these are the things that make up a big chunk of it, and this is how we can take action. But I think you might, similarly to the previous discussion, I think if we have sort of 4 or 5, 6 slides with a lot of statistics and information, it's like, yeah, move on.
Yeah.
I think we can be a little tighter. Yeah.
I'm always okay with kind of consolidating slides and kind of keeping things, maybe if it can be said in one slide. So yeah, definitely open to that.
John, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm on mute. One other place to potentially do that, Michelle, and I love it. I think the theme around the summary of the things Littleton's already doing for the crowd is to really say, listen, we know we're not starting from square one. People around town have been actively doing things. And so, there's been great stuff happening at LEWLD. There's been good stuff happening with the hazard mitigation plan, like that to me feels like another place to grab time where you can say there are good things. We don't want to suggest that nobody's trying to do anything. This is about organizing the stuff that's already happening and putting a plan around what much more needs to happen. I think, Don, your point, right? We don't want to pat ourselves on the back and say we're on our way there. We know we're not on our way there, but we also don't want to alienate anyone who's been working hard at something by not acknowledging that other things have happened. And that's what those 4 slides read like to me. That's another place I think you could consolidate it into, a 4 box where you just reference the headers and have, 1 line about each or something.
Yeah, essentially we're trying to integrate what we're doing and sort of collaborate and coordinate and be efficient. I mean, that's what the climate action plan does. So we're sort of bringing a focus of everything together.
So just to pull it back again and make sure that we have a plan for the evening. So I I'm going to propose, so we talked about um, someone from the committee doing a very short intro of, we're here for a climate action, to talk about our climate action plan and introduce you, Michelle. So that would be, I would say, 5 minutes or so. And then I don't know if Michelle, if you could condense yours into maybe 20 minutes or so.
I think I could do it. I think I could do it.
And then we could allow, say, 30 minutes for the gallery part. And I think the discussion afterwards would be really important. So I would love to see 30 minutes to that, to be able to talk about what people wrote up there. And
Yeah.
so does that seem reasonable?
I think so. Yeah. I think, the main point is that we want to hear from the community, people attending. I think having the kind of meat of everything be the gallery walk and then discussion, and then we can just do maybe like I would do like 10 minutes of kind of a summary and just show that roadmap slide of like what the next steps are. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, Charlotte.
Sorry, logistical question. Do we have a time limit that we can be in the center? Are we booked it for a certain amount of time? And also, do we have anything people to like eat and drink during this?
I was gonna, bring that up. We could maybe get pizza. I know, so in the grant, there's not a specific line for like food or drinks, but I could maybe expense like pizza or something as like a indirect expense. So I was gonna bring that up too, like if you would be open to that, I could pick up a few pizzas on the way.
Yeah, I think it's good having food, and if we have to take a collection to do it, so be it. I think that does help.
Yeah.
I was going to offer to make cookies.
I can bring a couple packs of Spindrift, like soda waters or something. I mean, I think if we each have a bit of a potluck approach to it, we'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think unhappy people if there's nothing to eat at all or drink at all.
Yeah, I think it definitely would lighten the mood and kind of, yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna make a quick note, pizza.
So is the senior center okay with that? I just can imagine the mess it might be to clean up afterwards.
That's a good point. I can reach out to Liz and see, just run that by her.
We did actually talk about at least showing people the solar display in the but maybe we can just sort of be hanging around the lobby while people are coming in. And
it seemed like because I know we talked about maybe a little bit of a tour beforehand. Liz was having trouble getting a hold of someone, I think, like a facilities person who might be able to help out with that. She mentioned she might be able to just give like a quick, here's the all electric kitchen. She doesn't know a lot about the solar, but I feel like if we kind of looked at it, like we could maybe figure that out. So I can follow up with her and see if she would be willing to do that. But I know Diane mentioned Eric is very busy.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we can just sort of point out a few things.
Okay.
And just quickly, if the facilities people aren't on board, what does that say? I mean, this is very important. As far as the food, the senior center does have movie nights, and they have popcorn and soda to drink. They also have breakfast for men, a separate breakfast for women. So they do deal with food.
Yes, but
Wait.
then they have somebody that they've decided is going to clean up. So are we going to clean up? I mean, I'm not even going to be there. So are you guys going to clean up?
Yeah, I think we could pitch in.
I'll stick around and clean up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's good just to run it by her too,
Yes.
just to be safe. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a snap plan. We
Yeah.
have a timeline. And I think you have comments on your slides. I don't know if there are other things that I see. Emily, you have your hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that what you said about time, do we have to get out within an hour and a half? Because every one of these type of brainstorming meetings I've been in Littleton, they've always gone over. Okay, we usually have enough people highly engaged. Can we make sure that we have some spillover time available?
I can check with Liz, but I think in this case because I'm going to be having other volunteers from NIMCOG as well. So I do want to be kind of respectful of their time. I think we do want to keep it. We can go over a little bit, but I think we should keep it close to like the hour and a half kind of time.
We want to be respectful of the attendees' time too.
The attendees are going to be upset if they're pushed out. Okay, and so if your people from your other things have to go, that should be fine. But I know I've just been around Littleton enough. People will get, if it's like other ones, people will be highly engaged and will not like being cut short if they want to talk about something.
Okay, I'll make note of that. But yeah, we can. I think we can go over a little bit, but I think we do want to keep it kind of close to like hour 45, if we can. And maybe I just
an
with
hour
like.
just won't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, an hour will not cut it. Okay.
An hour and a half is what we've allocated.
And we do have this survey, a second public forum. I think you've put your own email address.
Yeah, and there will be like follow up too, kind of like a summary of just like what was discussed. Typically, like with these events, we try to do some follow up, just to kind of also thank people for attending and kind of open like if they have any other additional questions or concerns, like please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. And had we thought about it ahead of time, we could have videotaped it, and that's another way to get a multiplier effect, getting people exposed to it. But I think a summary that we distribute is going to be very helpful.
Yeah, or even just again like sharing slides or anything like that.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to propose that we do not do the tour, because if you're trying to take people around and look, and cut into the time that they're really there for, and I don't want to take the risk that we lose 15 minutes trying to corral people back in.
You should certainly show the dashboard that's right there in the center. I mean, that's simple.
Yeah, I think what we can do is as people are coming in, if we are if people are lingering in the lobby, it's right there. And we can mention as people are leaving, hey, take a look at, you can see the display of the solar panels on your way out. I don't think that we want to disperse people through. I agree that it's going to take too much time, but I think just having it, the fact that we're having it in this building will be a draw just for people who might not have been in the building yet.
you should mention the library also has a dashboard, so people understand new buildings have different standards, and we're moving ahead.
Mhm.
So it's nice that both
Yep.
the library and the senior center are close together, and people can get that concept.
Yeah, I agree, Emily. That would take too much time. So I think we'll have that in mind that we can, if someone's interested, we can say, look at there, but
Yeah.
not part of the program.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally okay with that as well.
Okay, so as far as, so I think so we mentioned one of the committee members to do a little bit of an intro. I don't know if anyone is itching to do that. I'll throw it out there if anyone does.
Threw me under the bus earlier, but
Charlotte would be awesome.
I'll happily do it. But I'm also happy to share that with anybody else. So yeah, but happy to take it on.
That sounds great, Charlotte.
Thank you.
I wrote your name down. All right. And so just, I guess, logistics will just maybe if the committee members could plan on being there about a half an hour beforehand, that would be great.
Yeah, and I'll be bringing, we have the like cards for writing, pens, all of that. And then easels for like the boards. So I think as far as like any additional kind of materials like that, we should have all of those. And I'll be bringing them.
Okay. And did you talk to Liz about projecting?
Yeah, she mentioned that sorry, not the library. Sorry, the senior center, they can do that. I can double check with her. I think when I was at the senior center, they mentioned like they have all of the equipment, like HDMI cables and stuff, but I'll confirm with her
Okay.
to make sure there's like no additional things.
And they do show movies, so
Mhm.
sounds like the capability, but sure, makes sense. It's all there and
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Okay. Anything I'm forgetting? Or is there anything we need to discuss further on this?
Yes. Let's see. I think Charlotte had asked about whether a small group could get together to work with Michelle. I think we need to decide who would be doing that.
I'm guessing that you're interested, Emily. Charlotte, if you're doing the intro, then it might make sense for you too. What do you think?
Sure. And we can either do that virtually or in person, whatever works best.
Actually, I might not be the best person to do it. Does anyone else? John, you have really good slide experience along with Charlotte. Would you be interested in doing that?
Yeah, I've got bandwidth between now and Tuesday to help with that if you'd like. Happy to.
I can maybe do a little slide brainstorming and send you both an email and see what you think, Michelle and John, and then we can kind of go from there. Maybe just work on it on a Google Drive or something.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Did you want to find a time maybe to meet virtually, like on Monday or something? Maybe just to touch base.
Maybe why don't you guys figure that out offline?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can email. That
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, I just have one further comment. I do have ideas but I can send that to Charlotte or John, just so you can incorporate my thoughts or at least consider it. Would that be okay? Because I would do it as a third, but we're too close to quorum.
Yeah.
I think just two would be better. Do you agree?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, why don't you send your comments straight to Michelle?
Oh, to Michelle. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think you do have my email. So,
I do. I have them handwritten already. I'll write them up and send them off just for, okay?
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is third Thursday. So we did say that we wanted to do that. Do we have who can be there if we do the 21st?
I have it in my calendar. I think I'll be there.
Okay.
It is going to be difficult for me to be at that one. We have it reserved already. I took care of getting it reserved if we decide we wanted to go forward with it. If we
Reserved with Park and Rec, you mean?
With Park and Rec, yep.
Yep.
We have
Okay.
it reserved with Park and Rec. Our schedule that week, we're on vacation, so it's hard for me to be there. If there's no other option, I can drive back, but my
You don't need to drive
preference would
back.
be to not do that.
Could I borrow the tent from you, or
Of course.
will that?
Yep.
Okay. If I can get that from you, then I can take it over.
I have nothing on my calendar for the 21st. So if you need help, I can help.
Okay. Okay, that'll be good.
And I did verify that the games are available if you wanted to go that route.
What do you guys think?
That requires logistics of pickup in Waltham and all those
Yes.
things without me around. So I'm not that someone else can't do that, but I liked the bringing the library of things idea, things from the library of things that people can use to think about as climate action steps they can take from last year. I thought that was well received. The other is I'm unclear. Are we trying to get a declaration of climate emergency at town meeting? Do we think we'll have draft language for that? And can we socialize that at the third Thursday in some way?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I didn't get that on the agenda, but I was going to bring it up. In member updates, I did just chat GPT up draft, like just to see what one looked like. So I don't know if Michelle, is there any sort of template or anything like that, or is it just more ad hoc? I looked up, I mean, there are a number of towns in Mass that have them.
Sorry, I gotta go on unmute. There's a lot of examples from towns. I'm sure, I think maybe like mass.gov might also have like a template or something, or a similar organization, or not organization, but yeah, that like draft language. I could maybe look into that, but yeah, I notice it seems that a lot of them are kind of worded similarly if you kind of look at different examples from town, but yeah.
Well, I did also want to just ask, like, it seems that we don't have to do it. It may be that it generates interest or awareness.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a requirement, but it might help maybe get some of that support early on.
If you look at the Acton Climate Action Declaration, emergency declaration, it's very verbose, but it does give you an idea. What is helpful is that once you have it, you can share and shop it around and get people to endorse it, such as churches, organizations, businesses. So you sort of build up support that way, and it makes it more successful to being passed. But I think a statement shorter than Acton's would be helpful. That's easy to find, and we have a sense of what they did.
So I'm just trying to think of, so we would need the language approved by September 12th. Our next meeting isn't until the September 4th. I can share what I have right now, and we could put it into the minutes so that everyone could take a look at it. But I think we might need another one or two people to really take a thorough look at it and the templates.
Another task force to work on it, then bring it back.
Yeah.
I do have some concerns about us drafting language that we then just rush onto the warrant without any conditioning of the community, and that if it creates, I'm more asking, and maybe Karen might have perspective of other warrants or others in town, right? If we throw a warrant that we get, let's assume we get to, reasonable language between now and September 12th. Then that warrant goes in, everyone gets the book for the first time that says we're declaring a climate emergency. Do we think that will pass? Like we should have good conviction that will pass unanimously or without a lot of banter, negative banter, that would make a climate action plan more difficult after we've done all the groundwork. I don't know the answer. I'm more asking the question of how the community thinks about that.
My comments and some of the things I sent is that I need this statement, which should probably be simple if you want it to be passed by a majority. You're not going to get unanimous, but by majority. But then you need a campaign to promote it. And it's a good question. Do we have enough time for that? But I think we do need that at some point. You need to shop around with people, and especially different church groups, different community groups, and businesses to make sure it isn't too controversial. It does fit in with sort of mainstream thinking.
Is there a world where it's a very simple 1 to 2? I just pulled up Acton's while we're sitting here. Acton's is 15, 16 paragraphs, and it's got a lot of data about jobs and aspirations and all of those things. Do we get the value with a really well worded 1 to 2 paragraph? Whereas again, I don't know the language. Maybe you have something simple like that, Sarah. That would be the way I would want to go with it. I think it would behoove us at this point to be as simple and non-controversial as humanly possible.
I agree.
So.
Yeah, let me share my screen so that we can look at it together. Oh gosh, I have to allow things. Okay. It's about a page but I actually was thinking that what I would want to cut that down. I do like that it's sort of short statements, so it's more like readable and consumable, but some of it we definitely would want to talking about the latest science from, I don't know, haven't even looked up what that is, if it's really a real thing or if it was hallucinated. So this is definitely I'm not going to pretend that it's ready to go. Definitely. Just to be very clear, AI generated to get something to start from. So it's fairly simple, and I would like to look at if Mass.gov has a template, and I want to look at some other ones, but I agree that something short and sweet that gets the idea across and primes people for the climate action plan in the spring would be good.
I see Karen's hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I just wanted to build a little bit on what's been discussed about the campaign and laying a lot of groundwork. I think, as we've all experienced, no matter how many times you reach out and try to get to people, the vast majority of the folks who are at town meeting are going to be reading it for the first time after they walk in the door. So and that isn't to say that it's an exercise in futility. It's just to say that I think the more time you give it to lay that groundwork, the better off you'll be. It might give some more time to build up solid attendance as well. It's a little tricky. I just based on my experience with the Orchard group, I think the more time and the more forums and the more public options you have, the better. I was just thinking about, for example, the town newsletter. And between now and town meeting, there's 2 newsletters, I think, that'll be going out. So it's already, it's already a quick turnaround in some respects. That said, if anybody wants to come and talk about it on the podcast, I'd love to have anybody come on and we can chat about that.
I like that idea. Charlotte.
Yeah, I was just also wondering, with other things on the warrant as well, we may want to just consider where we're placing this in relation to some other issues that are being brought. I feel like it isn't, these things aren't considered in a vacuum. And if we're asking maybe too many things at one town meeting, it might actually potentially undermine the efforts. So I don't know, it's a balance, but just wanted to, there's a couple of big ticket items coming up on this one. So I would want this declaration to get lost in the shuffle as well.
So when would you propose it be introduced for people to vote on it? And would that be a town meeting? So if it isn't spring town meeting, does that push out to the annual town meeting? I mean, if it's in fall, pushed out to spring, is that too late?
Is that a question for Karen?
For anyone.
Well, I think if we push this to spring, then climate action plan would definitely push to fall.
I'm wondering, is that true? Like, and again, Michelle, I think I heard you say like it's not required for a climate action plan to have declared the emergency first. Many towns do it to gain traction. I wonder if we could do the 2 warrants at the same time and move, like, have the language and have the town help us craft the climate action language, climate emergency language, in addition to the climate action plan, right? We have an emergency and we have a plan to address that emergency, almost like what you have below here, Sarah, that we're committed to developing a climate action plan. That becomes, we have developed a climate action plan. And so I don't know whether that's 2 warrants or 1 warrant where we do the 2 together. I would hate to bump us another 6 months out, but I'm really, if I think about the other things on the warrant, I would hate for us to accidentally shoot ourselves in the foot by trying to rush through a climate action declaration that then has some unintended impact on a new building in town that's trying really, really hard to be sustainable. And that if I can I don't think that way, but I can imagine someone maybe saying, well, I'm not ready to declare a climate emergency, and therefore, wait, why am I going to vote for Shaker Lane School? I would really, really hate for that to be an outcome that we inadvertently stepped into.
So if I follow what you're suggesting, so we do both these probably as two separate warrant articles in the spring annual meeting. I think what we would have to do is actually have a campaign to promote the emergency declaration. So we'd have a lot of people on board already, but we need to plan that as something we do soon. And so we know it's going to pass because we get endorsements, we fine tune it, we get endorsements from the community groups, much like a lot of towns do. So it's sort of a no-brainer when it comes up. You've already dealt with all the issues, the climate deniers and all that.
I
I
think
think it could work as two warrant articles in spring annual meeting, but I would think we need to do a campaign to make sure it's well crafted and we get endorsements on it. So when we go into town meeting, there's no question about it. At least you get a majority backing.
Can
And
they
people
just
are
be
engaged
mentioned
and informed.
Can they always just be mentioned in the same breath that the emergency declaration and our climate action plan to deal with it is what we're talking to working with the town on, right? Versus two separate campaigns.
Emily?
Yeah. What is the objective of the climate emergency declaration? I thought it was to get people engaged in the climate action plan. And then the second question, this is probably to Karen. Is it legally, does that do something to the town of Littleton legally? And people will be asking this at town meetings. Like, what does it mean to declare emergency? Any emergency at a municipality level?
I have your first question is, I have this same question. If none of us knows, then we need to go back and figure that out. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see you all again. And I'll make sure to send this to Margaret to include in the minutes so everyone can see it.
It's a question that definitely will come up in town meeting. If you ask someone to do a declaration, we need to know what there's whether there's a legal definition. So we need the town lawyer to go through it and explain.
So any of the articles will have to go through town council before, so I think you'll have the answer to that just by way of going through the process.
And I think what it does is, much like the climate action plan or the master plan or others, it gives sort of a justification and push of, oh, we want to do this. Well, the town voted that they think that those sorts of things are good ideas. So it's sort of helps justify things. I don't know that there's no, shalls in here to say that anything shall legally, be done, but it's more of a, I don't know what the words are.
It's an affirmation. I mean,
yes, thank you.
It's aspirational. So it's good. I mean, if someone has problems with it, then so be it. It isn't the end of everything.
Mike?
But I guess the question becomes, is there any reason to have it both warrants at the same meeting? Because if it's there to, yeah, you know why I'm leaving to it.
Well, it's a timing issue.
I have the same question though. If we have the climate action plan ready to be voted on, I'm not sure what the emergency declaration buys us beyond that, because the climate action plan gives us that justification for doing all these things that we want to be able to do.
Right, but the climate action plan, as it comes, is sort of a final form. If you have the declaration, you have a campaign to get support, you build up to it. It has a different purpose. You know, it's an affirmation, everyone sort of agrees to it. But once again, I think you need a campaign to shop around, speak with groups, and getting them to endorse it. And that's different from saying, here's our climate action plan. You actually build up endorsement, because people, you have all those conversations about, is there emergency and is there advantage, and having it as a non-critical warrant article and just an affirmation does help you. But it's helpful if you shop around and get organizations to back it. I think it does help pass the climate action plan itself, because people have a lot of different discussions. People will be engaged. Whereas if people just put together a climate action plan, you know, people have the attitude, it's just those people put it together. The campaign for the declaration at least gets discussions going.
But again, so your answer seems to say that you want to do the declaration before, though.
Well, I think a declaration is helpful. So then there's questions, when do we do it? And I agree, it's sort of late in the game to have it for the fall town meeting. Because once again, it's more than just the statement. I think you build up support by shopping around. So you do need some time to bring it to the public and engage people, have those discussions. I think my cell phone is starting to run out of juice and saying goodbye. And do you have my comments and other things? Actually, I'm on a shipbuilding pier in the Gloucester Harbor. It's a very nice moon, but cell phone is saying goodbye. So why don't I just leave that? Yeah, whatever you decide, I go along with.
John.
Yeah, I think my opinion at this point is that we would be rushing to declare a climate emergency, and we would do ourselves more harm than good in trying to rush that through. And I don't, given everyone's comments or the comments following, I agree that it would be nice to have. We're putting a lot of work in the climate action plan. If there's outreach and things that we need to do to get folks engaged around that there is a climate emergency, we should do that under the climate action plan and put our efforts towards getting the climate action plan firmed up and done, and good outreach on it, and not distract us with another warrant and or campaign.
Emily.
I think what Dawn's point was, which is very enlightening, is probably easier to go around to committees and churches and other things with a climate emergency declaration, which is less than a page long, than to go around with an action plan. So I think that's what Dawn was saying. Dawn, I apologize if that's not the same. So based off of that argument, you could actually do it at the same town meeting, because one's easier to sit down and discuss rather than a really long plan that would be hard to go through.
So let me ask this. If I did more research and found that a couple of paragraphs would suffice to at least bring the topic to people, and I can imagine if we brought it to fall town meeting, perhaps late in the, after the big issues are up, it could potentially not derail the discussions over, the Shaker Lane building that's going to be discussed, but it would allow us to talk about it. And I mean, it is August, so we do have 2 months to talk about that and to socialize that. If we, I could, do without it, but I think we could potentially do something short, small, simple in 2 months, get the word out. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm willing to see at least to do some more research to see what the essence could be. If you guys want to do that, if you just want to say no, we don't want to do it in the fall, then that's fine too. John.
I mean, maybe to tie it back to Third Thursday, if you're willing to do that, you post it at Third Thursday and ask people there to read it and say, is that something you would vote for at a town meeting? And if not, what language is missing? And if so, that might tell us a little bit more about it. I mean, that still gives us a little bit of time before September 12th. Would that be a way to just
I love that idea.
kind of wrestle it to the ground?
I love that idea of using Third Thursday to take a read, and we could also have it next Tuesday. Not even part of the program, but we could have a handout or something, or I don't know. Have to think about it more, but Emily.
Just a quick one. I love that idea. The thing is, how do we come up with the declaration? Do we have an emergency meeting, a quick meeting, so that we can come in and vote on it, on the wording, or how do we make that decision?
I would say for Third Thursday we could just have some sort of draft. We're not asking people to sign on to it. We're getting a read and gathering information, and then if it looks like we do, there was overwhelming support and we wanted to try to do it, then yes, we would need to call an emergency meeting probably the last week of August, if we can. Yeah. I mean, we will have a meeting on the 4th, but it would probably be better to move the week ahead.
Sarah, do you need help doing this? One thing, just we might want to do more subcommittees just so that we distribute the work.
Honestly, I don't mind. I'll just draft something. It's just to show people, and I mean, if you guys are okay with that, if you trust me, I'm not gonna do something crazy.
I'm comfortable with that.
All right. Okay. All right. So I will make some very simple essence of an emergency declaration to show it Third Thursday to get a read on whether this is something that we want to do, and then we will have to move quickly afterwards if we do want to do it. Okay. All right. It's getting late. I think, are there any member updates or new business that we need to, any other ones that we need to cover tonight? Charlotte.
I do not feel like everyone has the energy for this, but I was going to share with you the proposed language from the Littleton School Building Committee, suggesting some kind of enthusiasm from our committee about the sustainable design practices. So what I might suggest is I can read that verbatim, and I can also send it to you, Margaret, and we could maybe capture that in the minutes if we don't have the energy to discuss it now. But Sarah, I'll leave that to you. But I'd love to just get it on record so we can at least consider it.
Yeah, why don't we get it on record? I mean, this is something that we would just need to vote by town meeting, right? So that they could say whether our committee supports it.
Ideally, with enough time prior to town meeting that they could use our, if it's an endorsement, for instance, to actually garner support for. So ideally with a little bit of run up. So if that means voting on it at our next meeting, that would leave ample time.
Okay. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I can also just quickly screen share if it's also helpful. Just sure
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways we could frame this, but the Littleton Sustainability Committee supports the proposed Shaker Lane building project's commitment to sustainable design, including its planned LEED silver certification, all electric and solar ready systems, geothermal heating and cooling, and the use of healthy materials. Or if we wanted something a little bit more succinct, it would be commitment to energy efficiency, low carbon design, and healthy building materials. So that's less specific in terms of the actual, I guess the technical specifics. Sorry, I just tipped an entire thing of water on my desk. The piece that I just wanted to flag for the committee is, I underline the word proposed. This is, after all, a proposal, and it's their commitment, the project's commitment to sustainable design that we would be endorsing. If I've read our comments last time right, that this is kind of region that we would become more comfortable in, the incorporation of these components into the design, not that we're saying one way or another whether or not a new school should be built. Of course, we can go down that route, but this is where it is right now.
Okay. Margaret, I think you had your hand up for something else, right? For a member input?
Yes. Yeah. It's
Okay,
just a quick question.
Well, before we go to your question, did anyone have any comments on this quickly?
I have no concerns with this language, either of them. I actually like the first one better because it shows more detail, but I don't know if we want a motion to vote on it or if we want to table it.
I think we ought to table it.
Yeah, and since Don had to drop,
yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, but just informally, yeah, I agree. I like the first option too, because it does spell out some positives. Okay, Margaret, what was your?
So I was just curious because I did all those flyers. Did anybody take any of them and post them anywhere else besides the library, the town hall, and the senior center? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Can you say where I didn't know there were any?
So I had
something.
Told people in the email chain that I had put all of these flyers split. Charlotte and I sort of came up with a 20 at each place. And then I told people that's where they are, and you can take them and move them to wherever you wanted. Because I doubt that all 20 are going to be taken. On the other hand, if you find that there's nothing there, let me know. I can put some more out.
Can you say where there is?
The town hall, at the clerk's office, the Littleton Library, and they were going to decide where those were going to go. I think sometimes they put those at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
And the senior center, which they have a nice little table, which is in the lobby, sort of to the leftish.
Okay.
So anyway, I did mention that to people. Don sounded like he was interested in getting them all kinds of places.
I
But
know.
he never wrote anything about how he did. Sorry.
Sorry, I know when I looked at the like registration, there's like a section where people say where they found the link. I know a few from like the Conservation Commission, I think might have gotten the flyer. I think that was maybe who Don was gonna reach out to as well. Um,
Yeah, we post in the we contact the Conservation Commission, and then also on there, like a few of their different Facebook groups. Also just been accosting people as I see them and making them sign up.
I did reach out to the churches, but I didn't really get a response from them. Um, the one church, the emails that were listed, I think those people actually either are retiring or they have retired. But I did send it to kind of like a general email for them.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm actually encouraged to hear that there are 14 registrations. People tend not to register very far ahead, if at all. So I think hopefully we'll get a few more.
Yeah, I will say, talking with colleagues that are also doing like outreach in other towns, it's pretty good. 14. Yeah, I know people say the summer is tough. So, yeah.
I, I'm in a neighborhood association in the fact that I get all the emails, and is it all right if I just do a PDF attach and send it through email to anyone I want?
Of course, and there is that blurb of text that would be good to send in the email.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier than people opening up a PDF.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll catch the Long Lake Neighborhood Association.
Great. Yeah. Everybody can email your closest 200 contacts. All right. If there's no other new business or updates, then our next meeting currently would be our regularly scheduled meeting on September 4th. And we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. In favor of adjourning, Emily,
Yes.
Charlotte,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes.
and I'm also yes. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle, for your time. And Karen and Rob, thanks for attending.
Thank you all.